There's another reality, and a number of you who are gas customers, in fact, almost 4 million of you who are gas customers, know that in around 2022, the price of gas went up dramatically. Now, what was happening in world events at that time? Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the disruption of the supply of natural gas to Western Europe, and frankly, you had a situation where the world market was setting the price, and we in Ontario pay a much lower price than people do on the world market. But something that you need to know, a few things you need to know. One, about 60% of the gas we use in Ontario comes from the United States. Used to come from Western Canada, it's coming from the United States. And in the United States, there are large numbers of liquefied natural gas export terminals that are shipping that gas out. In fact, recently there was a pause put on a few of those, in part because industrial manufacturers in the United States were saying, these exports are killing us. They are killing us. You need to stop exporting all the gas because it's changing our cost picture. Well, in 2022, and I remember this because A, I got a bill, and B, my constituents came to me about it, big spike in gas prices. And if you'll remember your gas bill, about half is the cost of getting the gas to your house. That's the pipes in the ground. The other half is the gas. And that other part comes from the price of gas out on the open market. Well, I want to say to all of you that although it's unpredictable as to whether or not we will see other spikes, and I have to say wars happen and disruptions of energy supplies happen. And if I knew what the price was going to be, I would be running a side deal in gas futures and making a lot of money. So I won't predict that, but I will predict this, the potential for great volatility. And that is a huge problem for people. The inability to be certain what it's going to cost them in the year to come to heat their homes. That is an issue. And to the extent that we stay with gas or expand the use of gas in this province, we expose more and more people to volatility of those gas prices. That is not a good thing. And I had said at the beginning, and I want to say this again, the OEB didn't say you can't have a gas connection to a new house. There wasn't a ban on gas. If Enbridge wanted to install new gas connections to new homes, they could do it with the capital that's provided by their investors, and they could try and recover it over the next few decades. But I have to say, they understand the volatility of the world, they understand the uncertainty of the world, and the potential that within 2 decades or 3 decades, you'll have a dramatically smaller market for gas heating in this province. Again, I follow the minister's statement talking about electrification of heating, so that it may not be a good investment for those people who are backing Enbridge. No, they want to put the burden on you. They have asked the Premier to put the burden on you, the customers of Enbridge Gas, the multi-billion-dollar risk. So, Premier Ford wants to raise your gas bill. He's decided that higher profits for Enbridge Gas are more important than protecting you. He wants to increase the money that goes to Enbridge, and he wants to take that money out of your pocket. He's protecting his buddies at Enbridge and sticking you with the bill, and that's about $300 for each gas customer over the next 4 years. And that's why we're debating this legislation today. Legislation to allow the government to overturn a decision by the energy regulator, the body set up to protect you, the customers, from the actions of utilities that want to squeeze as much money out of you as they can. Speaker, high prices certainly at the heart of what we're dealing with here. No getting around it. And it's an issue that people have very immediately on their minds. They go to the grocery store, they try to buy something electronic, they have to pay higher rents, they're paying their energy bills, they're squeezed. However, there are other issues here, even if they're not as top of mind as cost of living. And the reality is the world is getting hotter. Weather is getting more extreme. It's getting more unpredictable. Those changes, those climate changes, are affecting the price of food, of insurance, and a variety of other things. They are increasing the cost of operating government because they're causing more damage to infrastructure. Drought and higher temperatures are reducing food production in many places, and we see the impact at the grocery store. Now, it's not just climate change that's affecting us at those grocery stores. There are retailers, big ones, that are taking the opportunity to squeeze as many pennies out of people as they can. But the reality is that as the world gets hotter and our climate more unpredictable, food prices will increase. As insurers face higher claims from catastrophic weather events, they pass the cost on to their customers. And I'm sure many of you have seen those bills, higher insurance bills. And I'll just say there are 3 jurisdictions right now where the rise in those bills has led to some really dramatic changes. Louisiana, Florida, Florida, and California. Many insurance companies are leaving those jurisdictions because they can't charge premiums high enough to cover the replacement cost of the houses destroyed in extreme weather or in wildfires. And so those places are having to provide a very limited state-sponsored housing insurance where an awful lot of the risk is left with the homeowner, and where those states are not happy that they're having to provide that insurance because I'm sure it doesn't actually pay for itself. But as we get hotter, as weather becomes more extreme, people are not going to be able to afford the premiums that insurance companies will charge to protect their homes and their property. And this is not a distant problem. This is a problem happening today in the southern United States, and which will make its way north into Ontario and into Canada. Already in Canada, the Insurance Bureau has said something like 1 million homes are facing the potential of losing home insurance because of flood risk. So we've got a situation where day-to-day life is going to become more and more difficult. And so in order to stabilize the climate and protect us all from rising food costs, and to make sure that things like insurance are affordable, the world is engaged in an effort to reduce emissions by 50%, carbon emissions by 50% by 2030. To do that, we have to move away from fossil fuels like gas. That means many things, but one of them is that when we have a chance to reduce future gas burning from heating, for example, we should take it. And we're in a situation now where new homes, if they get a heat pump rather than a furnace and an air conditioner, can actually have lower cost heating and cooling than if they went down the gas route. The OEB recognized that in its decision. Happily, this would mean lower costs for homeowners. Let's assume that Ontario actually does build 1 million new homes over the current decade. And given that so far the targets are not being met, I think there are real questions about that. But let's just say you didn't reach 1.5 million, but you reached 1 million. We have about 4 million homes in Ontario now. If all new homes were gas heated, then we'd face a very large new source of carbon pollution in Ontario. I don't know how the government would meet its very weak target of a 30% reduction. But we would be making the world hotter, and we would be paying for it out of higher gas bills. That's what this legislation means. The Premier Ford, wants to raise your gas bill, take more money out of your pocket, and make the world hotter, more volatile, more difficult for all of us. That's what we're debating today. The whole question of whether we will protect customers, whether we will let the Premier increase your gas bill or not. He's protecting his buddies at Enbridge Gas. He's sticking us with the bill, and we're talking about $300 over 4 years. Anyone who wants to pay an extra $300 to help Enbridge Gas, please put up your hand. And I'm sure that when the vote comes, there will be a chunk of people in this room who will stand up and say, yes, I want to pay more and I want to help Enbridge.